Hey there, welcome to the Kaizen Moment. Today we're going to be talking about memorization. Memorization is something that all of us use throughout our lives, and it's going to remain something constant in society. So before I begin this video and give you a bunch of strategies that improve your memorization by a large amount, I really want to thank everyone who's come over from my old channel and is supporting me on my new channel, and who are supporting me regardless of what content I make, because it really means a lot to me. So let's not waste any time and get straight into the video. Tip number 1 for memorizing much faster is called chunking. Let me ask you a question. How do you eat an elephant? Well, it's easy. You cut it up into smaller pieces and eat it up one by one. You should do the same thing with information. If you have a long line of information, instead of reading it all at once, you should break it down into smaller pieces that are easier to understand and can be recorded by your mind much easier and can be recalled at a much faster pace, and this has been proven by science multiple times. Let me give you an example. If I gave you a big number like this one, it'd probably take you a few minutes to memorize it and get it foolproof every single time. But if I put dashes in between them and broke them up into smaller pieces, it would be much easier to remember them for a longer period of time. And that is because your brain is much easier at processing smaller pieces of information. It also increases your long-term memory by up to 3 times, and that is a very massive amount. The second quick and effective way of studying and memorizing information very quickly is called the Feynman Technique. This is a technique that has been invented by Feynman, who was a very famous Nobel Prize winning physicist. So what he did to memorize his notes and understand them at a deeper level was he wrote them down like he was explaining it to someone else. You see, in a study, 2 groups of students were given information to learn, and one of them was told that they were about to write a test, and this other group was told that they were going to teach other students about the subject. The ones who were asked to teach the information to other students scored much better than the students who were told that they were just going to write a test. This is because if you write information to teach others, your brain organizes it in a much more organized manner, which makes it easier to retrieve information when you need it the most. The Feynman technique relies on exactly this principle. You see, what you're supposed to do is get a piece of information that you need to memorize, read this a few times over, and write it down like you were going to explain it to someone else. Now, just compare the information that you originally had to the one that you wrote down, and if you were able to explain it simply enough, then you have understood the concept well. If not, make sure to go through the areas where you were weak and improve on those. And by repeating this process over and over, you will be able to grasp information at an incredible pace. Another way to significantly increase your memory power by using visual cues and by visualization. A great way to think of this is by using a storyline. So, let me give you a bunch of words on your screen right now. Try and memorize them. You can pause the video and try and remember as many as you can. Make sure to comment how many you get. And now I'm assuming you're done with those. So now I'm going to narrate a story to you with these words. Make sure to tell me how many you remember by typing it down in the comments. Make sure to close your eyes when I narrate the story. Don't cheat or you won't be able to remember as well. A man had recently bought a new motorcycle. He was riding it down the street happily when he saw a giant rhino staring him in the face. He was surprised to see that the rhino was eating a bowl of pasta. The pasta was steaming hot and red in color. Some of the pasta slipped and fell on an ant below, and the ant was very outraged by this. It started screaming at the rhino, to which a police car with loud sirens headed towards the ant. The policeman exited the car and told the ant to not scream. The policeman, to everyone's surprise, stole the motorcycle and rode away. But as he was looking back and was mocking the person who had bought the motorcycle, he slammed into a bright red wall. The bright red wall started shaking immensely, and a person's bag fell off the red wall. Inside the bag were a hive of bees. The bees started swarming the policeman and stung him thousands of times. He was covered with red blisters. The policeman was taken to the hospital where he was covered with plasters by the nurse. Donald Trump gave the policeman a bouquet of flowers, and by mistake, he dropped a flower which flew out of the window and landed on an airplane that was flying through the air at immense speeds. Because of the flower, the pilot was completely astonished and crashed the plane. The plane burst into flames and everyone inside was panicking. The plane got stuck in a huge tornado, which in the end subsided. How many of these do you remember? Make sure to tell me. Number 4. The thing with memory is that whenever you try to memorize something, you forget small pieces in the middle. And this leads you to forget the rest of the information. Think of it like a train. If a small part of the train is missing in the middle, the rest of the train gets disconnected. Just like your memory. So the best way to fight this memory loss is by repeated repetition through time intervals. What I mean by this is write down the most important information onto a small piece of paper and try to remember it repeated times. First after 1 minute, then 3 minutes after this, 4 minutes after this, and then similarly you have spaced repetitions that increase with time. My optimal recommendation for you is 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, 1 day, and a week. Now this might not work for you if you're cramming late night on a test, but if you have time, this should work for you. But if you are cramming by any chance, what you should do is decrease the time intervals to maybe a minute and all the way to an hour. Because this makes sure that you remember every single detail. Finally, the last and most final thing that you need to remember your information much better than anyone else is sleep. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're cramming last minute for a test, it seems like the obvious better strategy to stay up all night and study. But it has been shown 1,000,000 times through million studies that sleeping improves your memory. And not only your memory, but even your thinking skills, your problem solving skills, and practically everything you need to write that test, or just to memorize in general. So always get your sleep. Be it 7 hours, 8 hours, or 6 hours. Get at least, at a minimum, 6 hours every day to have optimal memory. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. If you liked the video, make sure to turn on the notification bell to make sure you get videos that keep improving your life from the Kaizen movement. And definitely join the Kaizen movement by subscribing. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.